call me on the program. Call me, I beg you, please. Call me on it.
Citizens are being reminded to continue.
Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Good day to you and welcome to your main newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. My name is Joshua Van Sleckman. I thank you for joining us on the radio with a difference. In our headlines this afternoon, Fort Wellington crash leaves 3 dead and 3 injured. Government paying U.S. company $11.5 million for a boat to protect Guyana from evasion and privacy. Suicide is not the way out, the ministry says. More counseling and support services to be made available. Alleged CHNPA imposter charge. Man sets house on fire to evict tenant. Meanwhile, disciplinary actions for Agri officials who failed to carry out flood relief instructions, according to Agri Minister. Caribbean Airlines resume Miami to GT flights, and Liza 1 and 2 licenses to wipe out over 1 billion oil equivalent barrels still shrouded in secrecy. Stay tuned to stay informed.
Now for chat.
And now for the news in details. It was revealed yesterday that the government has made a down payment of $3 million or 618 million Guyana dollars to an American company called Metal Shark Boats to build an offshore patrol vessel to protect Guyana should there be a Venezuela incursion. Guyana is expected to pay a total of $11.5 million for the boat. At least, this is according to Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance, Gail Teixeira. Teixeira was at the time making a case on behalf of the government for using money from the contingency fund to make the down payment on May 20, 2021. The sum was eventually approved by a majority vote. Prior to making that statement, Teixeira reminded of Guyana's territorial issue with our neighbor Venezuela in a matter that is before the International Court of Justice. The minister went on to note that Guyana currently has one old vessel, the Guyana Defense Force Essequibo, which she said has not been doing well. The Irfan Ali administration still has not published all oil development production licenses granted to ExxonMobil, despite Vice President Dr. Bharat Jagdeo committing to do so on October 2, 2020. We understand that the Vice President has to give the approval to subordinates to release the remaining documents for the Liza Phase 1 and Liza Phase 2. The government rode into office on one promise, among many, that it would be more transparent than the administration before it. The Granger government never released a production license for the Liza Phase 1 and 2 projects, which collectively allow ExxonMobil the right to wipe out over 1 billion oil equivalent barrels. It had released the Stabroek Block production share and license and came under harsh criticism for the industry low revenue share and other poor terms. Get the full details in today's Kaieteur News. Meanwhile, 3 persons are now dead following a vehicular accident yesterday on the Fort Wellington Public Road, West Coast, Babis. The dead persons have been identified as 23-year-old Carlos Edwards, 61-year-old Humkar Parbanan, and 36-year-old Shabana Latif. The injured are 27-year-old Joycelyn Cole, her 6-month-old baby Carolyn Edwards, and 57-year-old Lekra Mangal. Reports suggest that the incident occurred at sometime around 5 hours. Police said that Edwards Jr., while with the other passengers, were proceeding to Georgetown along the southern side of the Fort Wellington Public Road in his hire car at a fast rate at the time of the accident. It is understood that Edwards Jr. was negotiating a left bend in the road when he lost control of the vehicle, causing it to slam into a concrete and mesh fence of the GCOM's office before plunging into a utility pole and finally turning Turtle into a drain on the side of the road. We tell you now that 21-year-old Sarojini Ram Singh, who pretended she was employed at the Central Housing and Planning Authority, in order to sell a plot of land located on the east coast of Demerara, made her first court appearance for the offence. Ram Singh was not required to plead to the charge, which alleges that on September 4, 2019, with intent to defraud $1.2 million from Telish Castram, she falsely pretended that she was employed by CHNPA in a position to sell a plot of land located at Commons Lodge, East Coast, Demerara. She was granted $75,000 bail, and the matter was adjourned to June 28, 2021. You're listening to us right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your main newscast. Stay with us, more news after the break.
This is GHK Lal inviting you
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us right here on Kaieteur Radio. A landlord is now in hiding after he reportedly set his house on fire to get rid of his tenant. According to a police report, the suspect has been identified as a 56-year-old Mr. Ali of 152 Better Hope, East Coast, Demerara. The report stated that around 19 hours on Sunday at Ali's address, he set his room on fire due to a report conflict he had with his tenant. We understand that Ali had served his female tenant a lawyer's letter to remove from his premises, but she failed to comply. The tenant reported to the police that she and her children were selling food on the road when they observed smoke coming from the house. It was also reported to the police that the tenant and her children saw the landlord running from the house and into the neighbor's yard. The fire only caused damage to the house. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, June 16th, Caribbean Airlines will restart commercial flights between the Miami International Airport and Georgetown, Guyana. To kickstart the relaunch, all customers who book from until July 14th will enjoy double miles. According to a release from the airlines yesterday, the weekly flight, which is conveniently timed to facilitate connections, will operate every Wednesday. Caribbean Airlines currently boasts the most extensive network in the region, which is expanded to provide better connectivity and authentic Caribbean hospitality. Customers are reminded that wearing a mask is mandatory during check-in, while boarding, and for the duration of the flight. With floodwaters remaining at a high level in several parts of the country, President Irfan Ali announced that it is now a Level 3 disaster. This latest classification could see the administration seeking international help. Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa and a team of officials from his ministry, along with regional officials, were able to inspect and assess the integrity of the Abari Conservancy. The visit was also intended to ascertain whether several instructions that were given during a previous visit were implemented. The minister gave instructions to officers from the various agricultural agencies to visit all flood-affected farmers in the Abari Creek area, distribute feed and treat animals. However, some farmers revealed that the officers are yet to visit them, a development that Minister Mustafa once investigated. Further, the minister disclosed that he had asked that disciplinary action be taken against those officers who have not implemented the instructions that were given. Meanwhile, the government, through its Human Services and Social Security Ministry, is aiming to make available more counseling and support services to members of the public. This was underscored in a joint statement the ministry issued with its Child Care and Protection Agency. The statement was triggered by the death of a teenager, Sarah Narain, by way of suicide. Based on an investigation conducted by the CPA, it was that there was an issue at the school involving a child that required special skills and guidance to deal with the matter. The person at the school at the time apparently tried their best, but they knew in the situation, the statement added. Nevertheless, it is underscored that suicide is not the way out. In light of this, it was acknowledged that there is definitely a clear need for more trained counselors to be readily available to students. Attorney General Anil Nandalal is arguing that the Court of Appeal has no right to entertain, much less hear, the dismissed elections petition case, which was filed to challenge the outcome of the March 2020 elections. Elections petition number 99, which was filed under the names Monica Thomas and Bernard Nurse on behalf of the APNU AFC, was dismissed by Acting Chief Justice Roxanne George Wiltshire, a result of the petitioner's non-compliance with effective serving on former President David Granger, who was the second named respondent in the matter. Nandalal argued that the Guyana Court of Appeal does not hold jurisdiction to hear the case, given that elections petition cases are catered for under Article 163(1) of the Constitution, which allows the case to be dealt with exclusively by the High Court. It is 12 hours 16 in Guyana, and right across the Eastern Caribbean, I turn my attention to your COVID-19 update. The country's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 430, following the death of 4 more persons: a 78-year-old man from East Berbice Quarantine, a 39-year-old from Upper Demerara Berbice, and a 54-year-old from East Berbice Quarantine, as well as a 76-year-old woman from Demerara Bahaika. 6 new cases were recorded, which have brought the total number of confirmed cases to 18,446. I do beg your pardon. There are currently 21 persons in the ICU, and according to the ministry, to date, there have been 16,313 recoveries. Up here on Kaieteur Radio, it's time for us to turn our attention to our page 7 of the Kaieteur News that is dedicated of being blunt. The Exxon contract is so lopsided that even the coalition is now against it. The political group that was behind this world-beaten one-side contract is today calling for its renegotiation. It's the wisest, most patriotic position for the opposition in a long time. The governing PPP used to blast the Exxon contract when it is in the opposition trenches. Now, it is defending the contract by silence, but not doing anything such as pressuring Exxon to yield and give us some terms that are fair and generous to Guyana. Why are PPP leaders so stubborn on renegotiating? What hold does Exxon have over them? What terrible betrayals have they done with this oil? They can't be this unconcerned. So what is that silences the top PPP leaders? And with that, we've come to the end of your main newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Let me remind you that you can get the full details of these stories and much more by picking up a copy of the Kaieteur News at a newsstand near you, or head across to our website at kaieteurnewsonline.com. I am Joshua Van Slykeman. Thank you for joining us. Have a great remainder of your Tuesday afternoon, and encourage you to stay safe on our roadways.